Hello and welcome. My name is James Rice from Mohawk Valley Community College, and today I'm joined by Dr. Deanne Wesley from Forsythe Technical Community College and Chuck Bales from Moraine Valley Community College. So today we're here to talk about your upcoming topic at the summit in this fall, the CTE K-12 Pathways of Study in Cybersecurity, the role of community colleges. And this is definitely one of the topics that when I saw this topic, I was really interested because I've been working with building some CTE relations here in New York State, specifically for us. And I definitely have seen how it's been a lot of work to kind of work with administrators and realizing, okay, I got to learn all my local state rules and working with high schools. Like there's been a lot going on here. And so I'm really interested to kind of get some more perspective. So I thought maybe we could start there. Like that might be what's happening around me, but I realized that that's not necessarily what's happening everywhere else. So I thought maybe we could just kind of hear from you guys. What do you guys see happening, maybe a little bit more on a national level, or some of the history that's been happening with making CTE happen, and how have community colleges been helping with this? So maybe Chuck, we'll start with you on this.
Sure. So there is happenings all across the country, but it is happening in pockets and not uniformly. And that's really one of the main thrusts of the article, was to try to get everybody rowing in the same direction, so to speak. So what we looked at was where these pockets of excellent career pathways for cybersecurity are being developed, and can we communicate that to the rest of the country? Because one of the things that we point out in the article, and this is not news to anybody, is that cybersecurity is critical, and cybersecurity technicians and people that are knowledgeable, not just cybersecurity people, but networking people and engineers and technicians and computer people. It's critical that we build up the capacity through more people interested in going through these careers. And so we want to do that uniformly across the country. And the way to do that really is to find the pockets where it's happening brilliantly, and to take that information and to disseminate it. So that's really what this is about, is just finding those little pockets, finding out what they're doing, finding out what works, and then communicating it to the other areas of the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really interesting to hear how, different things are happening in different areas. And it certainly is consistent, at least with what I've seen so far here in my state, how, I'm just going to trying things, and we're trying things here, not necessarily on a really broad scale. So, Deanne, what have you seen happening here in this particular domain?
So, it's a lot going on in cyber. Cyber is very important to the nation's safety, and to just provide infrastructure as well as governance, training. So in the state of, and what we're doing with cyber in the state is our students are learning how to protect infrastructure. They're learning how to investigate cyber attacks, working with the police department in some cases, and in other cases working with our state Department of Information Technology Services office when there is a national threat. And so reconfiguring switches and routers when networks are down, as well as doing work with our employers. And so it's important that certain competencies and skills and abilities are learned. And students can do this not only through our curriculum, but through workspace learning opportunities, internship opportunities, as well as on-the-job type opportunities.
Yeah, and I could definitely appreciate how we've seen the pattern over the years that, this education just has to keep happening sooner and sooner and sooner. And there's been a major benefit to that.
And that's why CTE in our high school and those relationships over to the community college those pathways are very, very important. CTE is important to our K through 12 because those students will matriculate over to community college, and those are the students we're looking for as cyber warriors in the future.
Now, Chuck, kind of as you were talking there, you were mentioning things were happening, in these little pockets. So, maybe you've kind of already answered the question, but I'll explicitly ask it. Are there any specific industries that you've seen that we can sort of emulate or follow, or to some extent is cyber sort of its own thing and CTE that we just sort of got to find our own path and see what makes sense?
Well, I think we're not paving new ground, so to speak. The concept, the critical concept that community colleges exist as the hub around which an educational ecosystem flourishes is not new, right? And there's different industries that use that kind of paradigm and excel in that, right? The idea, as Deanne talked about, how the bridge between high school and community colleges needs to be a strong bridge to get traction to a wide variety of students, not just the students that are going straight to university, but a lot of students that are looking at community college as their ending point. And then having community colleges be another bridge between themselves and universities, or between the industry and community colleges. So the concept is not a new one, that community colleges are really the hub in this educational ecosystem between high schools and universities and industry. But I think where cybersecurity really it puts a new twist on things is cybersecurity stretches into or touches so many different areas, from industrial to retail to, as Deanne mentioned, to crime, to policing, to hospitals, retail. I mean, it literally, cybersecurity is critical in all those. And you just have to look at some of the headlines where there were breaches in different industries, stealing different data of users. And so that's new, and that really is one of the problems that cybersecurity has, is one of ownership. It can't be owned by just one area or one technical field. It needs to be seen as owned by a lot of different fields, and that may be where there's a problem, especially in the career pathways and pathways of study, where traditionally there was there was a starting point and an ending point. But when you have multiple starting points and multiple ending points, there's some confusion about how things should be constructed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I guess I take that a step further to say, since you're mentioning that the CTE are oftentimes considered as CTE pathways, what is your pathway? And so what is the appropriate way to look at this for cyber? I guess maybe Deanne, I'll ask, do you see any particular model being used as we go and help develop this cyber pathway?
Absolutely. I agree with Chuck and what he said. The challenge is we need a discipline, a pathway. And so what states are doing is looking at the NICE framework and looking at those job roles and those descriptions, those competencies, and making sure that students have those competencies as they work through the program, through their program of study. And also making sure that those knowledge and abilities are learned in that program somewhere. We can look at the NIST what NIST is doing, they're working with NICE, and we're building a wonderful standard. And in states, we have a CIS standard. So when we're looking at our state's CIS standard, we're looking at the NICE framework as a model and looking at NIST as the overall encompassing all of these standards. We really have a good model to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And so at our school in particular, our curriculum maps to some of the frameworks. So our program actually mirrors protect and defend. That's one of the, I want to say, models under the NICE framework. And under that model, it tells us what competencies students should be learning, what skills they should have. And so we can map that to in our outcomes and to ensure that students learn those types of things. When you look at the standards for CIS, so students under the computer science program, what they need to learn to be able to compete. We can look at that and make sure that those are integrated somewhere in our curriculum. And if we all are doing those things, we're ensuring that these students are getting the competencies they need to be competitive in the cybersecurity ecosystem.
Well, that's really encouraging to think, knowing there's 50 different states, and kind of as Chuck was mentioning, this is happening in various states at various rates or to various success, that they aren't all developing their own model. That there's hope that we could have some national congruency sort of between it. We're all thinking of NIST and NICE as maybe one of those goals to go for. Mm-hmm. So maybe to kind of wrap up the conversation and think about the summit that might be coming here in the fall. I'm cyber faculty. I'm sure a lot of people who will be attending will be either faculty or administration, but am I the right person to make a difference in this particular thing in my state? I mean, who needs to be hearing this message and thinking about this and talking about this to really make a difference? And maybe Chuck, we'll start with you on that.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. We need champions at each in each college district, community college district. We need champions at the high school level as well, because those are the champions that are going to be making the connections and putting in place the different factors that we know from picking up best practices across the country that are going to work. So James, yourself, if we're using you as an example, reaching out to high school faculty, getting them on board, making sure that they're trained and making sure that they're excited about offering the classes in their high school that are going to start the students at that early age through thinking about cybersecurity, so that we have that clear pathway. So yeah, definitely. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, and each one of us can make a decision, can make a difference in our own area, in our own community.
Mm-hmm. Deanne, what do you think someone like me needs to hear if I want to get involved in this space?
James, I think that we need the high school teachers, we need management in high school, we need industry. We need the state, we need the government, all working together, 2-year college faculty, 4-year college, all working together to come up with a partnership that we can work with, so we can make sure that our students, as Charles just said so eloquently, that everyone is working from the same playing card and they are being trained in the same way, so that our students can get what they need as they move forward in cybersecurity ecosystem. Mm-hmm. We want to bridge that gap. We want to work collaboratively. And so I think with high school faculty, community college faculty, 4-year faculty, industry, our state departments and our government all working together, we can be successful no matter what state we're in.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to give us a preview here, and obviously I know we're all interested to hear the full brief and have the full discussion here this coming fall. And it's if anything, I'd say it sounds hopeful. It sounds hopeful that even if progress hasn't been made in my state, there could be other states that can then be used as a reference, as a model, and we can continue to sort of keep moving the flags forward in this cyber education, obviously, which we all believe in. So, like I said, I want to thank both of you for taking the time and showing up, and look forward to talking to both of you more in the fall.
All right. Thanks, James. Thanks, Deanne.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you, Charles.